Okay, nobody's here yet, but I'm gonna go ahead and start this stream. Oh, it's way out of frame as I'm clicking on buttons and setting things up. Alright, let's keep that up for a second here while I talk to myself. Okay, actually, let me minimize that and just pull up the Hangouts and the chat. So I've got the link to the Hangouts in the chat, and I've sent out the link to a couple of people. Hopefully somebody will show up. But in the meantime, gives me free reign to talk about the subject I want to talk about. And so this ties into two areas that have been going on, or two things that have been going on discussions and throughout the week. Although this doesn't seem to quite apply, it does apply. So the story I'm talking about is The Little Red Hen, and I'm going to go through a brief synopsis of it, and in a similar story, The Ant and the Grasshopper. And both of them follow the same kind of same basic premise and moral. So actually, I'm going to start with the grasshopper and the ant. The story of that. Okay, so this is Aesop's fable. It's a pretty old story. It's been around for a while. Moral's pretty obvious. So the basic premise is there's ants that are working and slaving away and building up and storing food for the winter. Oh, hey, yes, man. So yeah, so the ants are working and striving, and they're building a colony, and they're going out and finding food, and they're supporting their system, they're supporting their, their society, so that way when times, they're building up in the time of plenty during the summer and spring, so that way when food's not as abundant during the winter, they'll be able to survive. And then conversely, there's this grasshopper who spends the entire summer and spring, you know, eating as the food is available, and you know, basically using the rest of his time for leisure. In the story, it's singing and dancing, but if we applied that to today, that'd be like, okay, drinking, partying, going to movies, all that, like, leisure activities that don't provide for his future. Or if we applied this to, or let's a little more realist, or let's see, a little more pessimistically, I guess, to modern culture, it's the equivalent of getting a liberal arts degree in college. Like, okay, so there's some people who go to college and they spend the entire time learning a useful skill, and spending hours and all their time like learning the law or becoming doctors or becoming engineers. And then there's other people who just kind of dork around in the liberal arts, and then when they both graduate college, the ants, or the people who put themselves to useful and productive activities, they get something out of it. When they graduate, they have a job that can earn them money. And then moral of the Aesop's fable, basically the ants have stored up food for the winter. Winter comes along, they're able to survive it. The grasshopper is starving and cold and is begging the ants for food, and the ants said, well, you could have been doing this too, but you chose to spend it on, leisure activities, and it's your own, it's your bed, lie in it. That's basically the moral of the story. Is so the grasshopper ends up dying because he didn't have enough food on his own, and the ants had stored up enough food to save themselves. So it's about work ethic. So there's two principles that are involved in this particular story. And actually, let me go through the brief synopsis of The Little Red Hen, because both of these have a very similar parallels. So the story of the Little Red Hen, S-Man, you can jump in and say anything if you...
Sure.
Okay.
I do strongly agree with having to work to get something. I don't believe in handouts. I think that, you can apply that to more than just jobs. You can apply it to like things like welfare as well.
Yeah.
Like, rather than rely on the government, I think private charities are a better option, as I don't think your society is not about helping other people. I mean, helping other people is nice, but I'm not required to help you. You're not required to help me. If you want to help
Yeah.
people, that's awesome. But if you don't, that's your choice.
Okay. And that does tie into the second story, um, the real world example that I'm using this second story to represent. So, or at least that brought this to mind. So there's a story of the Little Red Hen, and so the Little Red Hen is uh, on a farm. I mean, again, all these animals are replacements for human characters, but anyway, so there's a farm. There's a hen who finds a grain of wheat and decides that they're going to turn that into bread. And they're going around and they're asking all the different farm animals for help in the bread making process. Like, hey, we've got this wheat. we're going to plant it, we're going to harvest it, we're going to get a crop of wheat, we're going to take some of that wheat, turn it into flour, we're going to add all these components to it, and eventually make bread. And for every step of the process, the hen goes around and asks all the other farm animals for help, and all of them refuse. And so the hen does it all herself. She, plants the seeds, waters the seeds, waits till it harvests, reaps the harvest, takes the now abundance of wheat, and turns that into flour, adds, this is kind of like cannibalistic, because isn't egg a component of bread, and yet the story is the little red hen is making bread. I don't know if you can make bread without eggs, because I think
I've not seen that done before.
Eggs and milk are a component of bread, to the best of my knowledge. I mean, I don't bake or anything like that, but I'm fairly certain that those are components. So anyway,
I'm gonna Google vegan bread while we're talking about that.
vegan bread. So anyway, the hen does every bit of work to make bread, and when the bread is freshly baked, then all the farmyard animals are like, "Oh, well, we didn't help in any part of this, but we'll help you eat it." And yeah.
Apparently that is a thing, but yeah.
Okay. So maybe the hen made vegan bread. But then, so none of the animals want to participate in any step of the bread making process, but they definitely want to take part in the results of the bread making process. And so these stories share a similar concept of that if you don't work for something, why should you reap the rewards of it? So in the story of the Little Red Hen, she doesn't give out the bread, and she instead shares it with her family. And even though her chicks didn't participate in it, that's her prerogative, it's her bread, she's going to use it how she sees fit, and she doesn't see fit to grant it to the animals that could have helped and didn't.
Yeah.
So the real world example that brought this story to my mind is the current topic of it's coming up in the news again because the Supreme Court just ruled in the cake baker who was supposed to cater a gay wedding.
And he refused to do so. I think I have an article for that.
Yeah. Refused to do so, and then it went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the cake baker. And so I know this is a bit of a stretch, because it's not like the gay couple was off doing whatever they wanted, and it's like, oh, we demand your cake now that it's there. So it's a little bit different, but this story I was like, oh yeah, it brought this idea of the Little Red Hen to my head, because it's the same mentality of, at the end of the story, the animals are all demanding the bread from the hen. And actually, there's a separate version that was oh dude, I'm getting weird inception here. So there's a separate story, a version of the Little Red Hen. It was actually told I don't know if it was by Ronald Reagan himself, but it was during the Reagan administration, comparing the Little Red Hen story to communism, where the farmer comes along and tells the Little Red Hen, you have to share your bread with all the other farm animals, and instead of the hen getting to keep the product of her labor, it's then distributed to all the animals who did nothing to build the bread, to bake the bread.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what was going to occur in the cake baking situation had the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the gay couple. It's like, yes, this person is going to do all of the work, and you get to reap the benefits of it, even if that person doesn't want to share the reward with you. It's a forced interaction, and so it goes to the point you were making before, where imagine in both of these stories, which is the retelling of the Little Red Hen, where the farmer tells the hen that she's got to give up the bread, and if we took that also to the ant and the grasshopper, the similar story would be the government comes along and tells the ants, no, you have to share with the grasshopper, otherwise that grasshopper is going to starve. It's a forced trade with somebody that you don't want to trade with.
Forced association.
It's a forced association. So there's 3 different positions, and for some reason, people like to go from the one extreme to the other. That doesn't make any sense to me. Because the people have been talking about this, is it's their business, and they should be able to do with it what they want, because it's their time, their energy, their labor, right? It's their business,
Yeah.
And yet someone can come along and say, no, you have to use your business for what I want. And it's like, well, then that removes all of their decision out of the process. So I'm trying to lay out the three extremes. The first extreme is the I don't want to deal with you, so I don't have to, and that's I think that is a justifiable position. Is the if I don't want to bake a cake for you, I don't have to. You can't make me. The second position, or this is the other extreme, is the I don't want to bake a cake for you, and yet I have to under force of law. That's if the Supreme Court had ruled in the other favor. Now, and most people are like, oh, well, if you don't want the baker to bake a cake for the gay wedding, then you just want him to be off by himself and to do whatever he wants, and you want to reward that, and you're in favor of that. And like, no, I want to give him the opportunity to do that. But the best position is the third position, and that's in I don't want to. If I don't want to associate with you, I don't have to. But I can and I should, because that's the that's going to give me the most benefit and you the most benefit, is associating with you even if I don't want to. Now,
Yeah.
that's the position that is often overlooked when it comes to the legality of a situation. And when people are advocating, so while I'm glad the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the bakery in this case, that doesn't mean that I think all bakeries should not bake gay wedding cakes. That's a stupid position, and I don't agree with that particular baker's position. If I had a bakery and some gay couple was coming in and willing to give me money to cater their wedding, I would. It's
Oh yeah. Yeah, like
the
yeah. Philosophically, I would say, it's kind of stupid to refuse service to people. Like,
yeah,
it's money, just take it. Like, I'm a
yeah.
greedy bastard. If you hand me money to make you a cake, you're gonna get a cake. Even if I think you're the scum of the earth, I'm taking your money to get you that cake.
Well, that's the
Um,
thing.
you
In the
know.
situation with the baker, he didn't even take their money until he was forced to by the state legislators. There's this state law
Let me.
enforcement or whatever. Because you
Yeah,
they
it's in Colorado.
yeah, to the best of my knowledge, when this went to court, that bakery had to actually suspend its business for a while because otherwise they would have been forced to cater the wedding, right? Right? Is that like
Yeah.
while this was in dispute, it was ruled in favor. Yes, you have to cater this wedding, and so to the best of my knowledge, the bakery stopped fulfilling all orders during that time period. If that's maybe I'm thinking of a different story or
I
but
think this is the one. I Jack Phillips is the baker in
mm-hmm,
question in this particular article I found. Let me see the name of the business if I can find it, because it was 'cause that was the one way I could recognize it. It's not showing the name in here, but yeah, it was some master baker, master chef, or something
mm-hmm,
was the case. Now, I will say that free association means that, if I said to you, "Oh, you have glasses, therefore I'm not going to serve you," or for
yeah,
some stupid reason, you could say, "All
yeah.
right, go fuck yourself. I'm going to that other baker,"
Yeah,
or
well,
hell,
and
or
that's the case here. The baker did not take their business and actually suggested other bakeries that would.
yeah, and I think this dude's business was hurt due to the bad
Yeah,
publicity of him
yeah,
refusing to
oh
do
yeah.
so.
So
And
so I don't know if
yeah,
it was hurt necessarily just because of the legal. I know the legal case did hurt the business overall, but it might have also been customers being like, "Really, this is what you're going? This is the hill you're going to die on? Okay, I'm not even going to this bakery. I'll go to a
yeah,
different. I'll take my business elsewhere." That's what should be the norm. Is if somebody has a an unattained or what's unjustifiable uh, prejudicial prejudicial
prejudicial.
prejudicial position, I want to know about it. If somebody's like, you know what, I really hate Jews. Well, okay, I would like you to be able to state that, so that way I know where you stand. And if you have a business where you're selling something, I will go to your competitors and pay a higher price just so that I don't support you.
Oh yeah, that is a big thing. For instance, Walmart and I think it's Papa John's. they have some practices that people in my state, some pro-union people, don't agree with. So they will go to the competitor, even if it costs more, just
Mm-hmm.
so they don't support those businesses because they don't agree with what they're doing. And hell, it could be
Yeah,
anything. If you don't want to,
yeah,
if you do not want to support a business, go to the competitor. That
but
way,
yeah,
and it's a faster way of using social pressure rather than the law and wasting your own money over a goddamn cake. When Ham was saying, "Oh no, it's worth it for a cake," because he kept bringing up the Civil Rights Act of 1964. I'm like, at
it's
least it's like I don't, I'm not convinced that the Civil Rights Act applies, or if it does, it should not apply to the private sector, but more the public one.
yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, it was just so weird about that.
Yeah, and I don't want people to think that I'm misconstruing the point or the moral of both of those stories that I mentioned prior because of this. I'm relating it to a current topic because I think both of
Yeah,
these stories have morals that apply in two different areas. So it's the who benefits from my labor, and
yeah,
the second aspect is the second aspect is what is involved in the process. That's the something that is often overlooked in both this situation and in the college situation, which that's something that's been going on for a while now. As people are talking about college debt and they're asking for debt forgiveness and they're asking for a whole lot of handouts from the government, and it's like, well, even to the to a more extreme case, the universal health care that Ham keeps
yeah,
advocating for is in order to provide something, it's easy to say, oh, this should be free or this should be for everyone, without understanding that someone else on the other side is sacrificing something to provide that. So it's more apparent in the case of the little red hen and in the grasshopper and the ant that the ants, yes, they spent the summer and spring, which is like the ideal time to go swimming and going, you know, that's outdoor weather. That's that cabin fever when you're in school. You're like, get me out of here, get me out of here. I want to enjoy the summer. I'm gonna go enjoy my break, and that's when you do your vacations. Like summer is like the best time to go out and do anything outdoors. That's when your camping trips are, your road trips. You don't
yeah,
want to do those during the winter. You don't want to do those like when everything's rainy and gloomy and cold. No, you do those during the summer. So the ants in the story, they sacrificed the good time to be outside to prepare for the bad time. And in the case of
yeah,
Little Red Hen, everybody else on the farm was going off and doing whatever they wanted, and the Little Red Hen is spending all of her time harvesting, growing, or planting the seeds, caring for it, growing it, and then eventually turning it into bread. That's all time that could have been spent doing whatever she wanted, like anything else. And in the case of universal health care and in student loan forgiveness, that's what people are forgetting about. It's like you're wanting all the benefits without the sacrifice that goes along with in order to attain those benefits.
yeah,
So there's two sides to these stories. Is the first is the who benefits from my labor, and the second is do you realize what is involved and what is lost or what is given up in order to get the results of my labor in the first place. And that's something that a lot of people that are millennials and a lot of people that are socialists, they don't look at that aspect of it. They're looking at what can I get? What should I what's in it for me type of mentality.
yeah,
It's the I want the cake, therefore I should get it. And it's like, well, do you realize what that entitles for the cake maker? Is if the cake maker doesn't want to make you that cake, by saying I want that cake regardless, basically that if you think about it from a big picture perspective, it is saying you are my slave. You must do what I tell you to do. And but they're going to pay them, so it's not real slavery. It's like, well, slaves even in even in the American slave system, slaves were paid. There were there were slaves who purchased their freedom, but under your like, oh, that's not slavery because they earned wages. It's like, well, then that creates a whole huge slew of problems in other areas. It's like, well, you've lost your consistency if you're like, oh, if somebody's getting paid, they're not a slave. Well, then that defeats the entire argument by socialists of the wage slavery, right?
Oh yeah, I think personally, I think it's wage slavery always sounded like it sounded somewhat like an oxymoron. Like if I don't want to pay, like if I was having someone as a slave, I wouldn't pay them shit because honestly, they're not going to be using that money, so it's still going
Yeah.
to go to
Well,
me. And
the idea of slavery is owning another person. So if you own the other person,
yeah,
you shouldn't pay them. So I know sounds contradictory. What I'm saying in the baker's case, even if you pay the baker, you are forcing him to labor against his own will because he wouldn't have taken that money if he wasn't forced by law, and which is why he fought it in court. Because it was,
yeah,
he's like, I don't want to do this. I'm gonna, so much so that I'm gonna fight this in court, and take this. It went all the way to the Supreme Court.
yeah. I
But
do. Go ahead.
so I don't agree with the idea of wage slavery the way the socialists announce it. But the people I've argued with are like, oh well, he got paid, therefore it's not slavery. And I'm like, wait a minute, weren't you the one arguing that wage slavery was a thing? How can you hold that? To me is a contradiction in term. Is
Oh
like,
yeah,
you believe in wage slavery, but you don't think that the baker was forced to do something against his will.
yeah.
It
Also,
when
yeah, like
social yeah. So I'll let you go.
no, you were actually starting to
I,
speak. You
I was going to say, when socialists refer to wage slavery, they refer to voluntary work or wages. Like,
yeah,
I go and work for my employer. I volunteered. He didn't force me to work for him. I said, okay, you know what? I need a job right now. You're hiring. And he's like, yeah, I need employees right now. Okay, you're qualified. We did a resume, we did an interview. Okay, I'm going to pay you this much to do this job. And I said, okay. Both of us agreed
yeah.
to the arrangement, and yet socialists would call that wage slavery. And I'm like, they don't call that wage slavery, or they called that wage slavery, but for some reason those same people are like, oh, this baker, how dare he? And I'm like, one of those relationships is completely voluntary by both people. The other relationship was involuntary on the part of one person, which is why he
Yeah.
fought it. And yet you don't see that as the involuntary action as a problem, but you see the voluntary action as a problem.
Yeah,
That
and
doesn't make any sense to me.
yeah, and I think the weakest argument when it comes to this type of case is like when they say, "Oh, if you don't want to bake the cake, then just shut your entire business down." It's to me, it's fucking dumb. Like I know this is gonna sound like a strange example. Like, actually, I think this could be a good example. Think about sex workers.
Mm-hmm.
If a sex worker says, "Yeah, I don't want to be with that guy. He looks like an incel," you wouldn't honestly say, if you're not going to sleep with that one guy, then you can't be a sex worker. Like honestly, most people wouldn't be dumb enough to say that or hold that line of logic because it makes
Well,
them sound like they don't understand consent.
yeah.
And it is a truly weak argument from people when they bring up the about bakers, like as an example about bakers who refuse to serve people. I do think that on this side of the point, it is like it should be more. They should argue about freedom of association rather than when they make it about religious grounds or
Yeah.
things like that. I think that's a huge disservice, and it makes it
Yeah.
so much harder to argue for.
Which,
So,
yeah,
yeah,
in the original defense's case, like, they were talking about how it was a violation of his freedom of speech because he was writing on the cakes, and that was a form of his freedom of expression. And I'm like, no, what? No, no,
yeah.
this is not freedom of speech. This is freedom of association, and that's what they should have focused on and hammered on. And
Oh yeah, like
I didn't hear the case, the Supreme Court case, and at least I don't think that was the defense offered up before the Supreme Court. I think that was the defense offered up before the lower courts. But at least if that was the defense offered before the same Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court still ruled the way they did, that's an amazing achievement.
oh yeah, and
Because
there was this one progressive voice. I could not believe he actually made a coherent thought when he said when he's talking about whether or not it's free speech. He's like, a Supreme Court justice or some court justice asks, if you write "I'm sorry" on the cake, are you saying "I am sorry" to the person you're selling it to? No, you're not. And
Yeah.
I'm like, that actually was a decent point, and I'm like, that is true. Like,
Yeah.
if I write to you, sorry for the headaches, humane. Like, if I gave you a cake that said that, you could, I guess, call that free speech because I was writing a message, but it was more
Yeah.
directed at you.
Well, I would say
Yeah.
more likely on a cake it would be happy birthday. Happy birthday,
Yeah.
Jimmy. Oh, hey, my parents got me a cake that said happy birthday, Tim. And oh, that's definitely from the place they bought it from. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go to where they bought it from and thank them for giving me that message. And my parents are, I'll give my parents the middle finger because they got me a cake. They didn't give me any kind of message on my cake. No, it's it's from the people requesting it. That's silly.
Yeah.
It's a goofy argument.
Yeah,
Like,
it was such, it was kind of funny just thinking about that. I'm like, that is true. It's like, if someone writes a death threat and they send it through the mail, you're not going to say to the postman, you're under arrest for
yeah,
threatening the
yeah.
president. You're going to arrest the person who actually wrote the threat
Well,
and sent it out.
yeah. Well, actually, I'd say it would be more like a telegraph. But do they actually? They don't do telegrams anymore or telegraphs.
No, the last time I heard about anyone using a telegraph to contact someone was in the 70s, and that was like someone conceding an election to a
Yeah.
president.
Actually, I think a better example would be like Google if they've got that. Oh no, your cell phone text to type, right? Or
Hmm.
yeah, type or sorry, speech to text. If you're so
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be like blaming the software that's, oh yeah, well the software is exercising, or the software company is using free speech. I'm like, no, I told you what to write. You can't blame the company for what I said. I'm the one responsible. So the one asking for the cake and the message that's the message on is on the person buying the cake at that point. So the grounds that this case rightfully, and it looks like from what I've read of the justices' decisions, the ones who actually made decent arguments in favor of the cake baker was like, yeah, this was not freedom of speech. This was freedom of association. I didn't see any arguments for the freedom of speech from the justices. I could be wrong
Yeah.
there. I haven't researched this thoroughly. The arguments I saw was like freedom of association, and I'm like, okay. And there was also the religious arguments as well, which is a form in this aspect is a form of freedom of association, because they're like, okay, which rights trump the other one? Is it the my right to practice my beliefs and not deal with somebody who
Contradicts those.
doesn't fit with my religious worldview? That's okay if you're practicing one particular religion and it says don't associate with these people. You shouldn't have to be, or you shouldn't.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Also, another good example for this type of thing is, when Gary Johnson and Austin Peterson were debating in the Libertarian primaries, a question was brought up: would you force a Jewish baker to bake a Nazi cake, or would you force a black person to bake a Klan cake, or would you force a woman to make a cake of something misogynistic? Like, trying to think of an example of something that would be misogynistic. A picture of a kitchen, I guess.
No, just a penis cake, right? And that.
Yes, that's a sign of patriarchy and toxic masculinity. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, if you would say no, I wouldn't force a Jewish baker to bake a Nazi cake. It's like, I mean, when I was arguing with him, I think he actually said he would. Like, if it was just someone asking for a Nazi cake, a cake with Nazi symbols, I think he said that. But if he says if you're being rude, like if you call like the baker a bitch or something, and they refuse to,
in that case, then you don't make them bake the cake. And I'm like, what?
yeah, and
Oh, because
honestly,
you hurt the cake baker's feeling. I'm like, what? No, it's the right to refuse for any reason whatsoever. That should be any reason. It should be race, sex, any reason. Should be any. Like, there should be no exceptions to that.
hell, it could even be the way someone ties their tie. Like if I
Yeah.
if I was baking something and a dude didn't, like if a dude
Well,
like
that's-
the thin end of a tie, if you don't tie that right,
Yeah.
you're not getting your cake.
Well, that's the funny thing is you can do that, this is something. Well, this is one of those stupid pipe dreams. Like, okay, eventually, if I ever get money and I want to do like some kind of YouTube, not really a prank, but some kind of like, I guess it would be like a candid camera type thing. Create a
Yeah.
storefront where you sell products for really, really cheap, but then in order to buy a product, we make weird, random, stupid rules about who can and can't purchase on, and so people will come up and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, sir, we can't sell to you. You're not on our client list, or you're not. I'm sorry, we're not selling to people with purple shirts today. Just like or no, I'm sorry, you're too heavy to buy something from our store. You could, because those are things you can actively discriminate against people, and it's to
Yeah.
point out the idiocy that you could deny somebody because of what they're wearing or their last name, or but oh no, no, talk about gender. Oh, well, they're a man, so you can't discriminate because of the you can't say that this is a women's only store or something. Actually, certain there are exceptions to that, aren't there? Like
I
Jim,
think
yeah.
yeah.
So even though there's the legal, you can't discriminate on somebody because of their sex, race, religion, age. What's the other one? Or disability or veteran status.
Yeah.
Yet there are companies that are like women only. There are
Yeah.
gyms that you can't be a member of unless you're a woman, and that's perfectly fine. And I'm like, wait, what is?
I'm
Wasn't
surprised
there?
they've
What
not
about
been
that thing about sex? Wasn't that one of
yeah.
those protected
I'm su-
categories?
I'm surprised they've not been called transphobic yet. But
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
but so
yeah.
a business running as a business should be able to discriminate for whatever reason. They should be able to discriminate by race, sex, or race or religion. What's the other ones I said? Veteran status. You
Gender.
should be able to, because what happens if there's enough customer demand for products or for a service, a competitor will come along and be like, okay, you see those guys over there? They won't let you purchase from them. I'm setting up a business right across the street. Exact same service. It's going to be more expensive, but I will allow anybody to come shop for me. The company that discriminates is not going to be as successful as the company that does not discriminate.
Yeah. And throughout the whole thing, it was just kind of interesting to see that whole process. It's like you also got to realize, are you seriously going to be making that much of a fuss over a cake? You're going to sue someone because they
Yeah.
didn't give you a cake. Like honestly, like some of these people, I'm like how addicted to sugar do you gotta be? Like if someone refused to give me a cake, I'd say, you know what? All right, I can go somewhere else for the cake. It's
No.
probably cheaper anyway. Anyway,
And what happened, at least, so I'm not sure if this was, because there was one with the pizzeria and there was some other incidents. So I think it was with the cake baker, because they went to several different bakeries until they found the one that refused them. I am 80% sure that was the case in this incident. In this instance,
yeah.
I might be mixing it up with the pizzeria incident where they wanted to host a gay wedding inside a pizzeria, and the owners were religious and they said no, you can't do that in our establishment, and then they took them to court.
Oh yeah,
So
that pissed me
but
off.
I don't know if it was that case or if that was the Baker case where it was they shopped around to multiple businesses until they found one that refused them on those grounds, and then they filed suit against them. So I think that was this case. I need to double check that, or if you got a reference or something like that. I,
Hmm.
I might be mixing the two because the two are very related. I do know one of them. It was either pizzeria case or this case where they had gone to several businesses until they found one that would discriminate based on that religious
The,
angle, and then filed the suit against them. That that shows that their intent is not the oh, I was wrong. It's no, they were looking for that fight. They were looking in order to push an agenda. I am
yeah,
fairly certain that was the case with the cake baking, because again, cake baker said, here's an alternative place. Go there. They will cater your wedding without issue. But for some reason, it was like, no, no, I need it from this bakery. This bakery right here needs to provide me a cake so much that I'm going to sue. I'm going to waste time and effort and money. Yeah, it's pushing an agenda either way. Whether they went out of their way to find this bakery, or whether they're just so offended by the bakery saying, no, you can go over there. Either way, this lawsuit, the entire purpose of it is to push an agenda. Like
Yeah, and
who
uh,
like Dairy Queen, you can go there and get an ice cream cake, and I'm a much bigger fan of the Dairy Queen ice cream cakes than I am of regular cakes. I'd rather go there and get them. Like it's not like Dairy Queen's gonna be like, oh no, we can't, you can't have your cake because you're gay. No, Dairy Queen's a they're a chain.
yeah,
They're not gonna refuse service to someone because of that. It's this specialty store that they had to have their cake from that said no, we're not gonna do that. And the other thing is, had they just bought a cake, that would have been fine by this bakery. In the instance of this bakery, and I know this is definitely true of the cake baking incident, they just refused to cater the wedding, not refused to sell them a cake. They refused to cater the wedding. They're like, hey, you can have our cakes. We'll make you a cake. We'll deliver it, but we don't want to participate in the wedding ceremony or in the the event itself.
yeah. That to me was ridiculous. I'm like, they're going to give you the cake, just
Yeah.
take the cake and go. I don't see like I went to a wedding like 5 years ago, my sister's
Mm-hmm.
wedding. The food was already there. They didn't have the person who they bought it from participate. It's like I thought that was like
Yeah.
not that big of a deal. It's like why do they need to participate? It's like when I would
It's
argue with Ham over it, it's like he was acting as if this is like the worst thing since Jim Crow laws and segregation, and he would
yeah.
mention that he actually mentioned Jim Crow as an argument, and Loudmouth
That's
fucking owned him as he's like Jim Crow barred businesses from being
yeah.
able to serve black people. It was not that they didn't want to; it's that they were not legally allowed to serve black
Yeah.
people.
And that's a more clear cut example of the two extremes in the in between position, because Jim Crow said you cannot serve this person, and then they flipped Jim Crow and said now it's not the you have the option to serve this person, it's the you have to serve this person no matter what. And it's like, wait,
Yeah,
what why did we go from one extreme to the other extreme? What happened to that middle ground? What happened to the, oh, it's my choice, I can serve these people or not serve these people? Okay, that
oh
should be the
yeah,
position it went to. Instead, it went from the you cannot serve these people even if you want to the you have to serve these people even if you don't want to. And it's like, why was there no middle ground? Why
oh
was
yeah.
that to me made no sense whatsoever? And that's what they're trying to do in this situation. Is the it's the either by well, I think this situation actually the verdict is a little more the, oh, it's your choice, because as far as I know, there's no law saying you cannot bake a cake for a gay wedding or cater a gay wedding. That wasn't the verdict. The verdict was a little more towards the middle. It's like, oh, it's your choice if you want to serve at a gay wedding or not. But the extreme is or the middle ground is the one that's always overlooked when people are arguing for one point or the other. That's I would say that middle ground is probably the best. It's like, oh, it's your choice whether you want to or not. That seems to be the ideal position in this case. It's like your freedom to choose. But it seems like when you're arguing with somebody, they're like, oh, well, you don't want them to bake this cake. Obviously, you want all bakeries to not serve gay people or something like that. That seems to be the arguments either seem to be to one extreme or the other. As when you're just saying no, I think it should be their choice whether they serve them or not. That's
Yeah, like, yeah, like honestly, and I don't buy this whole, but they're a public business. It's like, again,
yeah,
by that logic, a hooker has no room to say whether or not
yeah.
she can refuse to sleep with someone for money, and it's like that makes and in those two cases, it's funny. Like with the hooker example and the
Mm-hmm.
private businesses, the people that are arguing on their side, they just don't understand what no means. They don't understand that no means no.
Yeah, it's
Seriously,
almost
it's true.
they're almost, if they were arguing for that profession for the hooker, they would be on the side of pimps and johns, that the and sex traffickers, like human trafficking. That's They would be arguing for the human traffickers and for the johns and the pimps, and then
Yeah,
people on our position would be arguing in favor of the bunny ranch. Like, so the Bunny
yeah.
Ranch exists in Reno and other parts of Nevada. I think it's in Reno, but I know that there's
I think it's
escorts in the area around Vegas.
Yeah,
but
I'm
it's the
gonna
same
Google what Bunny
idea.
Ranch is. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So the Bunny
uh,
Ranch is a place where women can sell their sex
Carson City.
services. Yeah. But they have the absolute right to refuse customers.
Yeah,
There is no John forcing them to take on certain clients. They just go there and they're like, okay, I want you're gonna pay me money, and they talk to the guy and they're like, okay, yes, we'll have sex for money. It's just a place where, and the guy running it is completely hands off. I mean, I don't know if it's hands off as in he doesn't sleep with any of the women, but I do know if he does, he pays them. He's not entitled to sleep with them like a John or a pimp usually is, right? If
yeah,
it's because usually in that arrangement, the woman is having sex against her will, or is in such a dangerous situation she's having sex with the pimp or John as a protection against those clients that are trying to, abuse them. It's like oh well, I'm
yeah,
sleeping with him even though I don't want to, because if some other guy tries to force himself on me, I need him to defend me. Whereas the Bunny Ranch situation, they are their own boss. The client or the ladies who work there, they dictate what happens, who they sleep with, and the terms of that arrangement. It's all on them. Whereas the sex trafficking situation, the women don't get a choice. The John situation, the women have to choose between a rock and a hard place. That's and that's most of the time the case where it is illegal for prostitution. You're removing that option for women to to have full autonomy and full control of their choices. And so if they think, oh, the only way I can make money is by sleeping with people and selling my body, well, if it's illegal, the only option they have is to go with some nefarious elements, right? To go with a pimp or somebody who's going to, to watch the lookout to make sure that the cops aren't watching, and make sure that the guy that they're sleeping with isn't a secret undercover cop, or isn't somebody who's going to rape or abuse them. Because if you're doing something that is on the black market along the lines of selling your sex, you're more likely going to attract a customer that is going to abuse you, because what are you going to do? Like, oh, well, I was hooking on the street and this guy forced himself upon me and didn't pay me. And you're going to take that to the courts and cops in order to get your money back? No. The cops are more likely to arrest you and put you in jail for selling your sex. So it attracts a customer that is looking like, hey, they're going to abuse the system, which is why these women get Johns and pimps to protect them from those abusers of the system. Whereas the Bunny Ranch doesn't have that problem, because if there's anybody who causes an issue, not only do they have a bouncer at the Bunny Ranch, but they can call the cops, because they are a legal establishment or legally recognized establishment. They have ramifications. If some customer tries to rape one of their girls, that guy is going to jail. If somebody tries to steal from them, that guy is going to jail, and they're going to suffer no consequences for it. Where in areas where prostitution is illegal, if the cops do come out and arrest the guy who's trying to rob them or rape them, odds are they're going to go to jail too. So that's less incentive to call the cops in order to protect them. All right,
yeah,
so that's a big, long, drawn out conversation, a little bit lost in the weeds, but
yeah,
there's a whole lot of things that people don't think about. Like, oh yeah, that might be why these women are stuck in this situation. People look at that's a terrible situation. I'm like, but they're kind of forced to out of necessity. If you remove the option to choose for themselves, well, then they're limited to these terrible options. And that's so tying that back to the other story, and the other point about the other point illustrated by these 2 points is the people look at the consequences, and they don't always focus on how it got there. They don't look at there's more to the story than just the ending of it. And that's that's a huge issue that I'm seeing with people who are socialists, or with people who are millennials, who are saying, no, we need this stuff, you should give us this stuff, you should give us this stuff. So
yeah. It also changes their way of thinking when you think about it, because if you just give it to them, no strings attached. No, if I
Hmm.
give you this, you give me something in return. It goes from their way of thinking of, I'm grateful you didn't have to do this, but you chose to do this, to where I'm getting what I deserve. Where is it? Like it goes from a sense of gratitude where you're grateful, where they could have turned you down
Yeah.
and thrown you to the wolves, to this huge sense of entitlement.
Yeah, so this is more effectively illustrated in the grasshopper and the ant story um, because the ants actually it's illustrated by both stories, but I think the grasshopper and the ant is a little more I guess yeah, actually maybe they're both about outright. I'm not sure where I was going with that. Sorry. But I'm going to use the grasshopper and the ant. So the ant is sacrificing their good times in order to get the food. And then the grasshopper comes along and is begging them for food. Now, in the story, the ants don't give the grasshopper food, and the grasshopper dies. But the ants could have, if they chose to, given the grasshopper food, so that way the grasshopper could survive the winter, and then maybe the grasshopper would have learned his lesson in the next summer. He would have helped them. Maybe. We don't know because the original. I think maybe some retellings have had that moral as the happy ending, but I think the original story has the grasshopper just dying.
Yeah.
But the grasshopper would have learned a lesson and would have changed his behavior. Now, had some other larger creature come along and said, "No, ants, you have to give this grasshopper food," what incentive does the grasshopper have next year to change his behavior during the summer? He's just going to keep playing and dancing and doing whatever during the summer, and then during the winter he's going to be like, "Oh, I'm out of food again. Ants, give me food, please, please, please." And then the ants are going to say no, and then bigger animal comes by and says, "Nope, give him his food." He has no incentive to change his behavior because every time winter comes along, he gets his food, and there's no repercussions for the leisure activity. There's no downside. Why would he ever stop doing leisure if he can always get food during the winter? The I
Yeah.
the
That's a
I
very good point. Yeah, it's basically you turn the grasshopper into a mooch, and he has billions of grasshopper seedlings that the ants are all forced to pay for and work for.
yeah,
Essentially, that's modern society.
yeah,
Yeah.
but that's what the loan forgiveness is, what they essentially want and what they're demanding. And I'm like, well, what about the people who opted not to go to college altogether, and they worked a white collar or a blue collar profession like painting, carpentry, electrical work, and things along those lines? And yes, they're making more money now and throughout their life or whatever, and they don't have that college debt. Now imagine someone goes to college, they get a job at a career that can pay them more, and instead of having the college debt that just gets forgiven, and now they are making 2 to 3 times what the blue collar worker was making, and they have no debt. Like if that debt was just eliminated for the college student, that is a huge kick in the nuts for everybody who avoided college because they didn't want the debt. Because now their earning potential is capped much lower than the earning potential of someone with a valid college degree. The trade off is the I'm going to go into debt to make more money later on. If you remove the I'm going into debt, it's just the I'm going to make more money later on. Oh, why would anybody ever work a blue collar job? You're going to see
Yeah.
a massive shift of people going to white collar jobs, and we're going to lose entire industries if we
Yeah.
ignore college debt.
Another question I'd have for those advocating for free colleges:
Well,
who
you still
pays
have the
for it?
people who aren't capable of graduating from college that are stuck in the blue collar
But
jobs.
then it would be discriminatory, dude. It would be discriminatory if you make courses too hard so that not everyone can pass
Oh
them.
yeah, that's
So
what you're
we
going to
could
see.
actually make them easy.
Yeah, well,
What?
that's actually what you're seeing even in some of our current colleges.
I mean, look, just because he can't sing his ABCs doesn't mean he doesn't deserve a college degree in electrical engineering.
Yeah. Wait.
Of course. Hey, did you guys see what is it? Aspie on Naked Ape stream last night?
They
Oh,
did
last
another
night?
stream.
They did another one?
Yeah, Aspie was on it briefly at the beginning. They told Nick and Abe told him, got lured him on, telling him that he was dying of AIDS, and and he was negotiating, thinking of giving Aspie his channel before he dies. Yes.
Okay.
Needless, Hunter knew that that was bullshit. He went on anyway.
Okay.
Oh, the best line, okay, is when Aspie says, "I came in here knowing all this was a trap," and Iron Liz says, "Nope, I'm post-op now."
Yeah.
That was
pretty good. Yeah.
That was fucking hilarious.
Yeah. So
I can't get that image out of my head now. Thank you, Loudmouth.
Yeah, what? Yeah, Iron Liz, she was Linkara's main squeeze. I remember seeing her on a Linkara video a while back. His comic reviews, and I remember thinking, if that is a woman, that is the ugliest woman I have ever seen. Turns out, Iron Liz was a pre-op trans person at the time.
Oh.
Yes.
Well, still.
Linkara though insists that he is completely straight. He says, "All right, Liz was always a woman. The fact that she had a man's body is irrelevant."
Okay. If you want to live in delusion, or what's that?
Yeah, I mean, nothing wrong with being gay, dude. If you're gay, you're gay.
Yeah,
It's
it's
fine.
gay.
Or
You're gay.
what if
I
in
don't
that
know.
case bisexual? Because to me,
Yeah.
it's like if you're willing to personally, I can see the argument being made. I think Blair White actually did a video arguing that it's not. She said it's not the straightest or gayest thing in the world to do, to date a trans woman or something.
Yeah.
Very
Um,
bisexual, yeah. I imagine a bisexual person would probably be attracted to more likely to be attracted to a trans person than anyone
Well,
else.
Maybe this. I think I want to say this for another discussion because I think that would be an interesting thing and that could get us further into.
Sorry, I just thought
Oh, no, that's-
saw that last night.
No
It was
worries.
so funny.
Yeah.
It's. I'm not gonna lie. That was
Oh,
pretty
no.
fucking funny.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the whole thing was fun. It was hilarious.
I
I'm
would
not-
have to watch that. Although that kind of undermines Naked Ape's previous argument, which I thought he did a really good job on, and just kind of, even though it was a little heavy-handed, I think that's what Aspie needed to hear. But now, the fact that he's asking Aspie onto his stream,
Well, yeah, but
Kinda-
they clearly just did it as a joke.
I get that, but
They're
that's
just
like,
talking and faking fun.
It-
They just did it all because it was funny.
yeah, it's a great it's a great joke, but his previous argument was that he wanted nothing more to do with Aspie, and that he's done, and he's tired of Aspie bugging him. And then you go and ask him on the stream, I'm like,
Or maybe his heart won. Maybe
yeah,
he
maybe
pulled
Aspie
like a
got
Grinch.
through.
Yes, maybe he was like the Grinch at the end of the movie,
Mm-hmm.
And then Whoville, they say that Naked Ape's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And then the true love of Aspie came through. Yes. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Weird.
I will.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
is
I was
a reasonable reasonable hypothesis.
Yeah, when the first time he streamed with Naked Ape, I really found that whole stream very unpleasant. I was cringing throughout the whole thing. I was just but this one I was just laughing. It was much more enjoyable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that line though, I'm gonna have to write that down. That's fucking hilarious. I'm not a trap. I'm post-op. It reminds me of when Blair White said, "I'm not a trap. I'm an ambush." I'm like, I thought that was
Yeah.
a pretty funny one. I don't remember. We were talking about freedom of association and everything.
And then we started talking about college degrees, and so the idea is they see the results and they don't understand that there's a sacrifice to get those results. They just want the results without the sacrifice. That's the mentality of a lot of millennials and socialists. Is they see something, hey, that's something that exists. I want that, but I don't want to put in the hard work and effort it takes to get that, or I don't want to put myself in a detrimental position in order to get the reward. So
Well,
it's all
something-
reward, no sacrifice. That's That is a terrible mentality that seems to be gripping a lot of younger people right now. I don't know if there is a solution to that. Other than just pointing out that there's more to it. Like, if you want that college degree and you want that higher earning potential, provided you actually apply for a position in college or a education that will get you a higher earning potential, because not just having a college degree by itself doesn't guarantee a higher earning potential.
No, not at all.
A college degree in English, right? Like, hey, I majored in English. I'm like, well, okay, what are you gonna do with that? I majored in liberal arts. Or, what are you gonna do with that? It's a barista degree, as Gavin McInnes called it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's practically worthless unless you're going to be a teacher. And when you think about the amount of teaching positions compared to college graduates with an English major or a liberal arts major, the amount of teaching positions does not match the amount of people with those degrees.
Yeah.
So, and then it's even worse if you go into like gender studies and what is it, the social sciences and all that sort of thing.
Yeah,
Then your degree
sociology.
is probably even more worthless than the liberal arts or the English major or philosophy
Yeah.
major.
Maybe that's how you can fix the education system, is by getting rid of all that useless bullshit.
Well,
That's-
I just heard Jordan Peterson talking about this. I forget, because his goal. Oh, he was talking about this when he was talking about his money that he's made. His goal is actually to create an online university, and I'm like, yes, $1 million. What? Where do I? Shut up and take my money. That's the thing that popped in my head. Is like, I would love if Jordan Peterson had his own online university with him and other professors just doing their lectures that they're already doing on YouTube for free. That sort of thing, that's what we need more than we need colleges. Like, if we had people like him being professors and just teaching stuff, like teaching YouTube channels, and then they have this, like, even if they had like some kind of, even a basic curriculum or something that you could get a certification after going through their courses or watching enough of their lectures and answering questions on them or something like that. That would be 1,000 times more valuable than what I learned in college.
I
Or what they were teaching me in
I would
college.
love if Jordan Peterson could school me on my YouTube channel. I'd love the ability to earn $1 million a year by not saying anything.
Yeah, honestly, with Jordan Peterson, I don't hate nor adore. I don't have an opinion on the guy. I do think the hatred, but the love and hatred for him is sometimes overblown on both sides.
Oh yeah, I just kind of think he's a sophist, is what I think. I think a lot of his speeches are full of eloquent language. All right, the guy's clearly intelligent, but ultimately, if you really think about him, I think a lot of what he says is completely meaningless. I think the guy's highly pretentious.
Yeah, I would highly disagree with you because there is actual. So the stuff that he's saying should be obvious to most people. I mean, like, if you read the 12 rules, like each
haven't
of them
read his
is
books. I've
very
only-
very basic. You're like, so the 12 rules for life. You're like, okay, stand up for yourself and do raise your kids right, do things yourself. These are all like basic conservative principles or conservative values that have been around for. I'm trying to think what the actual 12 rules were, but if you condense them to just 12 rules, it's a very short book that only takes up one page. But he spends an entire chapter explaining why that rule is important and why you can arrive at that rule. And then sometimes there's other stuff, other advice in there littered throughout that isn't part of that rule, but it's related to that rule. So I mean, but it's basically just do
I've
things
only seen a few
yourself.
sample of his speeches, and I just didn't really get anything meaningful out of them. That's my personal opinion.
Okay.
Kind of seemed like he was just dodging questions, like when they asked him if he believed in God or not, and he couldn't really give a straight answer.
No, because that's a very complicated question. At least his understanding of God, because I don't think he
Right.
actually believes in a physical entity of God.
I mean, I could answer in 10 seconds. No.
Yeah, but
Oh,
then
you
again,
answered, you answered
his
faster than that.
based on the lectures I've seen of him, his understanding of God is an absolute truth. And yes, he believes in an absolute truth, but figuring out what that absolute truth is, that's something that's very hard to pin down, and that's what something that has spent decades trying to explain what that absolute truth might be. Whereas people who are religious, they're like, oh yeah, there is a God, and they give a simple explanation of what God is. But Jordan Peterson, while he does advocate for religion and God in general, he doesn't seem to advocate for one particular interpretation of God. And that's why I think he gives the explanations he does when people ask him about God. That's
I found it to be sophistry, to be honest.
Hmm.
I thought he was just being a pretentious sophist. Well, oh, I'm too far above answering a simple question, yes or no. I have to give some kind of bullshit, long-winded nonsense. That's the way.
all right. Well, I don't see it that way, but maybe that's because I'm an alt-right incel secret Nazi.
Yeah, I remember seeing your chat message, which Secular Hawk made his Twitter header, which he blocked me recently. But I downloaded that, and I was just laughing because out of context, if you don't know the situation, you that was so funny. And then I saw someone retweet where he tweeted an image at you of where you replied with a you agreed or something as a joke to where you called yourself an incel. You said you were how is this
I
humane
think we
guy?
can all agree that I'm like some waste of human something or other, and it's in
A waste
compliments.
of an orgasm.
Yeah,
I've heard
something
that
about
before.
it's.
I'm really sick of this term incel being thrown out like it's some like if you can't get laid, you're like some kind of potential terrorist or subhuman.
Well,
All right,
Yeah.
give me a fucking break, guys. I mean, not
No,
every
to-
guy
to-
can get laid that easily. Okay.
well, if you look at this, 50% of males don't have children throughout human history. That's the breakdown.
80% actually.
Is it 80%?
80%.
Okay, 80% of human males don't have children. Maybe it's 50% don't actually have sex because they never get to that point. Maybe it was 50% of men don't
Well,
even get to.
I think that's in genealogy of children who survive. I'm sure some of those 80% had children, but but those children never had children of their own. So I think it's not quite 80%, but
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
something
that's-
ridiculous. The amount
that's the
of
number-
men that don't.
that's the number of people whose genes didn't survive
Yeah.
to the next generation.
Yeah, okay, so if it's 80%, that's even more ridiculous. And then, so part of that is because they never got to reproduce. And so there's a.
Because they were incel, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
women have been proven to prefer 10% devotion from a king than 100% devotion from a servant, okay? And this is found throughout the animal kingdom, okay? It is always a small group of males who impregnate all the females, okay?
Yeah.
Whereas most of the males have to be incel. That is the case across the entire animal kingdom, and humans are not any exception to that.
Yeah. Honestly, I will say that when it comes to the whole incel thing, it's like honestly, do I sympathize with incels? No. In the
Come
terms
on,
of
dude.
like
You got to
I mean-
sympathize with people who are depressed and lonely. Come on.
I mean, if it's in for those that are just lonely and depressed, like if they're an unpleasant, asshole who.
Oh
thinks
yeah, if they're like violent assholes, then no, I don't sympathize with them much. But most of them, they're just lonely and depressed, dude.
Yeah, lonely and depressed.
Yeah.
I will be like, yeah.
Well,
Hopefully you
because-
find someone. But if you're this entitled, petty asshole that is unpleasant and women feel drier than the Sahara when they're around you, I can't sympathize with you.
well, that's the term where. So the incel is involuntarily celibate.
It just means you can't get laid. That's all it means.
Yeah, it's yes, celibate, but not by your choice. And I've used that term to describe myself as a joke, like all the time. Although it's an accurate description of, I guess,
I mean,
of my
I've-
case, because so I'm like, okay, I will gladly take that name brand. But the thing about that is, that term doesn't describe me as someone that no woman would ever sleep with. At least I don't think that's the case, because I have
Hope
been
not.
propositioned by women that I did not want any part with. That's that like, oh yeah, I could, but no, not with them. It's the
There was one.
yeah.
There was one time when this actually mildly attractive woman called me up, begging me for sex, and I turned her down. But in my defense, she was fucking crazy. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's-
don't stick your dick in crazy.
Yeah, it wasn't for her looks. Oh, she was pretty enough. She wasn't gorgeous, but she was pretty enough. But she was also fucking insane. Like, and she was on
Yeah.
all these drugs and stuff. I realized after one date that chick was bad news.
Yeah, so this wasn't sex per se, but I did have a very loathsome woman chase me around my house trying to give me a hug so that way I could feel what it was like to have tits on top of my head.
Okay.
So, yeah.
What's wrong with that? You know?
Well, this was not the kind of woman that I would want anything to do with. She was very, like I said, loathsome. I'm trying to. I'm not going to say too much more about the incident because there are people these are people that I know of who I don't know, maybe they'll watch this channel. Probably not. But don't want to get the back.
You never know who watches these
Okay.
streams.
Maybe I'll go a little bit more into the extremes. So she was batshit insane. So much to the point. So this, like, I don't know. I'm just looking from the outside looking in. So she ended up. So she was already like abused as a child or as a minor. History of sexual abuse, history of basically
Just
what's
shit treatment.
shit treatment as a child, and then when she got older, she was one of those. Instead of being sexually repressive, she was sexually like over promiscuous, slept with anything and everyone sort of thing. Had multiple relationships, was already divorced, had a kid from a previous relationship, ended up marrying one of the guys that I was friends with. Completely psychologically devastated the dude. I don't know how much of this was before he married her or how much of this after he married her. He is now not a dude anymore. He is completely trans, even though he has a biological kid. But there was no sign of that whatsoever when I was hanging out with him.
Damn, I mean, that is
I
quite a
don't-
woman that can make you want to cut your dick off.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know how much of that was before, and it was just kind of like nobody else knew it, but everybody else I've talked to, they're like, dude, we don't know what happened, but because he was like, so he seemed fairly normal, got into this relationship with her, married her after a few months, and then everybody saw this complete change in his personality. He was constantly depressed, she was sleeping around and cheating on him with other people, completely emasculating him and all that sort of thing. And other people were like, dude, this is a bad relationship, you gotta get out. But he was like head over heels or something like that. But by the end of it, he'd gotten divorced, and it was to the point where he, like, out of the blue to everyone else, and maybe it was under the surface the whole time, but out of the blue to everyone else, the sex change thing, and we're like, what's going on? Like, I don't know if it was all because of her, but that's where my like if
Yeah,
I had to
probably
bet money,
not
I would bet every dime I have, saying, "Yep, that's all her fault. She
Yes.
fucked him up."
Yes, well, yeah, probably best you didn't sleep with her then because you probably, what would we be calling you, Tamina or something?
Oh, Tiffany, dude,
Tiffany.
Yeah.
Tiffany, of course.
Tiffany, right?
Yes, you'd be
Oh,
you
Tiffany,
would be Tiffany.
Tina, or what is another T name? Like,
Teresa. Terry.
Nah. Those don't sound hot and sexy. If you're a trans, you gotta have an attractive female name. Nobody goes trans and becomes Bertha.
Oh.
Right?
Any woman named Bertha. Why?
So, do you know any trans people that transition and then are known as like Helga or Olga or
No.
Truth is, I don't really know any trans people in real life, not online.
I
no,
know some-
like look at their names. It's like Candy and they're and let's see, Candy, Amy, Blair. Well, Theron's not a common name, but that's not a. There's an
Blair.
idea. There's a picture that comes in your mind when you hear Bertha. No trans person becomes a Bertha.
Yeah.
Yeah, even Bruce went to Caitlyn, right? Caitlin's a nice normal name, and you're like, okay, Caitlyn, I could get by. Oh, no, thanks. You should have stayed Bruce.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's always like the attractive woman name. Nobody goes for who names their kid Edna?
Yeah, I actually remember meeting someone who was a trans advocate, but insisted on misgendering Caitlyn Jenner because of what she said about same-sex marriage and voting for Trump. I'm like, so your respect for that person goes out the window the moment their opinion is different from yours.
Yeah.
But I thought you were pro-trans.
Nice.
It was just fucking crazy.
Yeah, I'm
Yet,
trying to be consistent to even the people I respect. I have to use the pronouns that fit.
yeah.
Eh, whatever. It is
Yeah,
what it is with
I
that.
honestly don't give a shit, to be honest. I'm sick of people flipping out. You misgendered him. I don't even care.
Oh no!
Honestly,
don't. You're taking away their humanity. You're what? You're
No, they're
denying
still
them their humanity.
human. They still got equal human rights. I just,
Well, that's the argument from people
just
like
if they got
Google
a
it.
dick, if they got a dick, I don't want to fuck them. All right, it's fine,
Oh man,
I like
that's
lots of
super
things.
transphobic.
Yeah.
you were
I like
literally
pop-
Hitler, loudmouth. You were literally
Yeah,
Hitler.
Yeah, I like puppies. They're very cute, but I wouldn't fuck one.
Oh, there's something wrong with that, but I don't know if there's a term for it, but they'll find one.
Speciesist.
Yeah. So-
That's a topic for another discussion.
Yeah,
So
I mean-
maybe, but we should. So it's the idea that whenever you love someone, you have to fuck them. I'm like, wait, what? That's a very bizarre concept that seems to be going around a lot. Well, I mean, it's been going around ever since like the '60s or whatever. Oh, you're in love with someone, therefore you want to have sex with them. And there's the even though Lord of the Rings, they had some very gay moments. Gay. There was no Frodo and Sam did not want to bone.
No.
You're reading the stories and you understand the history and why the relationship between the characters. Yes, there is love there. There is not love, and also we need to put our penises inside of each other. There's this. Let's see, what is it? C.S. Lewis wrote a book on this where
They
he's talking
call
about the
it a
different forms.
bromance. Isn't bromance,
Yeah, bromance.
the term there?
Yeah, and Scrubs. I don't know if you like that show or not, but because it's
Yeah.
kind of critically panned, and a lot of people don't like it. But I thought it was a very well crafted show. Not all that funny, but they did a musical episode, and that was like my favorite episode. And there was a song about their bromance called "Guy Love," and I was like, yeah, that was like the peak of the show for me. And I'm like, okay, I'm glad I gave this show a shot because of that episode. Anyway, it's just about how because one of the dudes was, well, actually both of them were married with a kid at the end, but they still had that, this weird bromance relationship. And I'm like, yeah, that's something that's kind of lost in a lot of other media, is just two guys that love one another and care for one another, but they don't bang. they like to bang women. That's something that's like now in a TV show or in a movie or anything like that. Anytime anybody has something like that, well, obviously they got to make out and they got to have sex. That's
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of getting tiresome. Like, it seems that according to the writers, for example, of The Walking Dead, that being gay dramatically increases your odds of surviving a zombie apocalypse. Apparently,
really,
seems that
did
way.
not know that.
Oh yeah, if you fuck the anus, man, the zombies don't want you.
Oh, that was the other end. So more recently, everybody was upset that Captain America made out with that one. Was it something Carter?
Yeah,
the
Sharon Carter.
CIA agent.
It was
Yeah,
very clear from the beginning of the series that Captain America was straight. What the
Yeah,
fuck,
but everybody's like, oh, but him and Bucky should totally bang, and I'm like,
Because they're
That's-
buddies during the war.
Yeah, because there's buddies because I mean there is a respect, admiration, and it goes to the point of love, and then everyone's like, oh, well, there's love, they need to be banging, and I'm like, what? That's no. So like I was saying, C.S. Lewis wrote a book, and there's 4 types of love, right? And the Greeks have 4 different words for love, and we kind of stupidly compile them all into one. So there's familial love, platonic love, like a sexual attraction love, and then I think the 4th type of love is kind of like I think that's love of God or love of yeah, I forget what the 4th type is, but I do know it's kind of like it's a universal love type thing. But those are the four different versions of love, and so the Greeks have 4 different words. Ours is love, and you're like, oh, I love my kids. You monster! How dare you beat the shit out of you, right? Oh, wait, no, I love my kids. I don't fuck them.
Yeah.
But
Loving
for
your
some
kids
reason-
is great, fucking is not. Yes.
For some reason, people are like, oh, well, if Captain America loves Bucky, you should put his penis in him. And I'm like, those same people. Well, at least I hope they don't argue that if a parent says that they love their kids, that they don't want to bang them. I don't know, with the whole recent Tommy Robinson thing, maybe those people do secretly want that.
Well, I mean, they did ban Amos Yee for advocating that shit.
Okay.
What do you
Yeah,
guys
at least
think
there's
of
some
that?
sensibility to it, although for some reason it's like, how dare you talk about grooming gangs? I'm like,
Oh,
no,
hold on.
that's-
Like, what's your opinion on YouTube banning Amos Yee? Do you think YouTube was right to do that?
Oh yeah, I'm just gonna say this. I think he deserved it every bit of the way, whether he was a troll or not. Like that's one of the few things I'm a bit extreme about. Like if you're advocating that type of thing and you get backlash for it, you deserve every bit of it.
I mean, I go a little back and forth on the
Yeah.
matter because although I find his views repulsive, I do genuinely have a free speech extremist
Yeah.
thing that even repulsive views should be expressed. But then again, also YouTube is a private company, and if they don't want shit like that on their platform, they have every right to remove it.
Yeah,
So it's
I'm in the
kinda-
same boat. So I don't agree with YouTube's decision. I think that makes the problem worse by banning people for their positions or for their views. I'll tell you right now, on my platform, Amos Yee is not going to get banned. He can say the stupid, shitty crap that he wants to. No repercussions.
Well, Amos
But-
Yee would never be allowed on my channel. I'm not
No, not on my channel. No. So the platform I'm building. Wow, I'm drawing a blank. Man. So, Funfair. He's allowed to have his own channel, allowed to have his own content, allowed to have his voice on there. But I guarantee you, he's going to be a small voice on that platform. He's not going to have
Right.
a large following. He's not going to have because people don't like that. And in fact, he's going to have a lot of people criticizing him. Myself, are going to, I'm going to be the top
There's
one
no-
saying like, no.
There's no point in criticizing him because he loves it. He
Yeah.
loves to be hated. All right, it's very clear. Whether he genuinely believes his pro-pedophilia position or not, it is very clear that he loves the hate that comes
Yeah.
from it.
It
He
seems a
feeds
little
on
bit
it.
more like an attention seeking, whereas the omni politics guy, that seemed like a genuine stance, and he didn't understand what was wrong with it. Whereas Amos,
Right.
he knows it's wrong. He probably doesn't. He's probably trolling to an extent where he's just doing it for the attention and for the views or
Right,
you
that
or
omni
whatever,
politics guy, that guy was a genuine danger.
but- yeah.
Like, I mean, I would hate to celebrate a suicide, but I am very glad that he's not
No,
around to
no.
hurt any kids.
Honestly,
that-
Loudmouth, I'll say this: that if he were, there's very few people on this planet that if they do die, I do think I couldn't help but smile a little bit. There's only a few handful of people who would if they die, smile time.
that's- well,
I know that sounds extreme and all, but I'm sorry, but if you advocate for pedophilia, your life value to me is slim to none.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mourn him. I didn't shed a single tear.
Yeah.
Actually, I would go so far as to the other way. I don't appreciate his views and what he was saying, but I have a lot of respect for him because he understood, oh, if I actually follow through on this, I'm going to destroy someone else's life. So, you know what? In order to avoid that, ended his own life. I don't know if it got to the point where he's like, okay, I've got to act on this, otherwise,
Maybe I don't know.
I would hope other people in that situation, if they got to the point where it's like, okay, if I spend one more day on this planet, I'm going to fuck a kid, that they would off themselves. That's like, that should be, and that to me is like, okay, you understand. I would rather have him gotten help, saw a therapist, finally got someone.
I don't know if there's any cure for that.
I don't know either. But if it came down to him acting on it or stopping himself from being able to act on it, I'm glad he chose the route of stopping himself from being able to act on it.
I will completely agree on that. Whereas that guy viewed as dangerous, Amos Yee, I don't think he's dangerous. I just think he's an obnoxious, pathetic asshole. But I don't think he's gonna hurt anybody.
So that's why I would say on the platform that I'm building, people like that will have a voice. Although the more people that listen to them, the more people will tune them out and block them from their subscription. Be like, no, dude, I don't want that guy's content. Go away. He will be doomed to obscurity.
Before he was banned, though, he had over 40,000 subs. Amos Yee. I mean, that's kind of...
Omnipolitics.
So there's going to be the people who like the train wreck, right? There's going to be the...
Yeah, I think that's what it was. And plus, he got most of those subs because the incident in Singapore and Logic and others bringing attention to this guy was being persecuted for criticizing religion, and that's where most of his subs came from. Like, he was losing thousands of subs a month before his channel got banned.
Yeah, there's the other problem with YouTube, and you don't know exactly how many of those subs are legit for any, and this goes for not just Amos Yee, but for any person, because there's huge bot networks, right? There's people that create an account, and then nobody actually is behind it. It's a...
I mean, technically, YouTube will delete your channel if they catch that you create 1,000 bot accounts to subscribe to yourself. That's actually...
Yeah,
that is a severe violation.
How would they know if you did that? That's the question. Because
I don't know. They got some kind of software algorithms.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of accounts that aren't actually active and aren't being used, but they count towards subscriptions and views. My system, I think I have a way around that because in order to have an account that means anything, you have to have it associated with a bank account. That's kind of you have to have a bank number. And so bot networks aren't going to go around creating a bunch of bank accounts just to subscribe to a platform. Now, you can have a account generated that doesn't have any of your personal information or your bank information, but it doesn't count this. It doesn't count as a 1. It's not a 1-to-1 ratio, right? It's going to be like, oh, well, for every 100 of these, random accounts that aren't associated with anything real, maybe 100 of those counts for one actual account. So the people who are actually legitimate people who are actually using the system and all that will have a much weightier voice. I don't know what the exact ratio is right now, but I just know that if you're some random egg, you're what you say about someone or your likes and your subscriptions doesn't count for a whole lot because you're just some random. And that's the way it should be. It's like if you're willing to put your face and your voice to it and you're willing to put yourself out there, then your word has more to say than someone who's not whole or just kind of random or a bot or
Right.
So that's my solution to the issue. I don't know if it's the correct solution, but it seems like it matches up, and I think that sort of thing will help mitigate people like Amos Yee to the obscurity of you're there and you can squeak out a living on that, but you're not one of the people being pushed to the forefront. Pushed to the forefront and.
Plus, a lot of the big channels kind of created him by giving him attention.
Yeah, it's the negative attention, and people are.
He fed off it. Like Worski, I had this one big stream where he got a bunch of big YouTubers, pretty much all to rip on him, tell him why he was full of shit. But that's just giving him what he wants, That's what he wants.
Honestly, if I had my own platform, as long as you're not inciting violence, and as long as you're not like, as long as you're not slandering people, as long as you're not promoting violence or fighting words, then you can say what you want. But yeah, obscurity I think is the good way to kill off a
But
channel like
but
that.
another counterpoint with that with Amos Yee though is he's trying to moralize and try to say that having sex with a baby is a moral act, and that really, if even one person took that to heart, agreed with him, all right, that is really fucking dangerous. So in a way he
Yeah.
kind of was advocating for violence. It's pretty fucking sick shit that he would
Yeah,
Yeah.
ever
and,
fucking entertain such a thing.
yeah,
No,
with free speech, I'm pretty much in favor of it. I mean, as long as you're not calling for violence, I
But that
think
could
whatever
be
you
calling
want to
for
say.
violence, because
yeah.
that could kill a baby.
Yeah,
You
and
know.
and it,
God,
it
he's
is.
such a sick fuck to say that. I really
Yeah,
do.
it's yeah.
Yeah,
It makes me so mad just even thinking about that
It's
shit.
like
It really does.
that's if he was a troll, that's some next level dedication. That
Ugh.
so. Yeah.
Yeah, like babies can consent. You put a baby on a table, okay, it will crawl right off and break its head if you don't stop it, okay? Babies are fucking stupid. They cannot consent to anything, okay?
I would say most adult toddlers are pretty fucking stupid in the same.
Right,
regard.
but babies, I'm saying, they know shit. They are extremely stupid. They're less
Yeah.
intelligent. Children under the age of 2 are less intelligent than a dog.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a fucked up position.
Yeah.
Children
Oh.
under the age of 4 are less intelligent than a chimpanzee.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Did not know that. That's pretty interesting. It's like, oh.
Yeah, I think chimpanzees are, about as an adult chimp would be about as intelligent as a 4 or 5-year-old kid.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That seems to make sense.
Right.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
Well, I'll
'cause
say
you're
that
in
my
the-
bird,
the-
because my bird has the sort of about a 3-year-old's human equivalent.
Okay.
Yeah, they actually say that that like certain birds are actually much more intelligent than dogs and cats, like ravens and parrots
Oh yeah.
are actually more intelligent than dogs and cats.
Yeah. Ravens are really really clever.
Yeah.
I think
Like,
yeah, because my bird's quite he's quite intelligent. Well, the males you can kind of talk because when they talk and things like that, then yeah, that you can sort of tell how smart they are. But then the females, they're still quite as intelligent, but they don't show it.
Right.
Hmm.
Just as in humans. Amazing.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
ravens have been
I remember that
shown-
article with
Oh.
the domestic dispute between someone and his parrot. I'm like, I'm willing to bet every
what?
time he yelled at the parrot threw it right back at him. You're an asshole. You're an asshole, Bert.
yeah.
You take that back.
How have you guys been this week?
Ah,
I've
pretty
been
good.
sick as fuck. I've been sick as fuck.
Oh yeah,
I
I
got a
have.
cold.
I
I
have
got a nasty cold.
the worst cold I ever had lasted for like about the entirety of a month last year, and that was like,
Hmm.
God, that was hell. But yeah.
I can't sleep, man. It's fucking miserable, man.
Oh, I just take sleeping medication and I'm out.
I
Thank
try,
God.
but it only does so much, if you got like a sinus attack.
Usually, what I'll do is I just try to stay up as late as possible and then try because I've been able
Well-
to do that where I could stay up for a day and then I just let myself crash at 10 p.m. and
Yeah, I don't have that option with my job. I always gotta wake up early in the morning.
yeah, I mean on the weekends when I need to sleep. Other than that, I just manipulate my sleep schedule to the best of my ability to see how that works.
Uh,
But
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know this crazy world. It's like that'd be interesting to have a solving the world's problems type stream where you just find like all these common issues and you try and
oh
find
yeah,
out.
I know the solution to all things. Don't you remember what Jocelyn said? I apparently am the ultimate authority. How dare anyone defy me?
Oh yeah, he was all like, "You Loudmouth said not to reveal private DMs." It's like he said there's
That's just-
exceptions. Oh,
I always said there were exceptions, and two, as you said, that's just my personal opinion, and
That's,
I'm not
yeah.
I'm not your fucking dad. I'm not your any authority.
But
You guys.
you gotta realize I should have said it like this, but that's your opinion, bruh. But yeah, it's like in a case like where me and Loudmouth showed private DMs to expose hypocrisy from no bullshit,
Yeah.
that was clearly justified. If Loudmouth had for some
That wasn't private DMs. That was a chat group. There's a difference between a chat group and private DMs. Private DMs
Yeah.
is between you
Well,
and some
they
other
weren't
person.
public tweets, so they kind of were.
yeah, and also I'd like to point out is he revealed a fake name. He revealed a fake name. He said his name was Bruce Russell, but that's not his real name. I was like,
Did he
no way.
really?
Yeah, in the group chat before, it just said Bruce Russell. I'm like, and then I saw his name was.
Shit. He's
Yeah, then
such a.
He then showed his real name on Twitter as Brooks Heatherly, and I'm like, I fucking knew that guy was lying.
Oh,
Yeah.
of course he's lying. The guy is a genuine pathological liar. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, he and
cannot
Johnson have a lot in common.
Yeah, Brooks cannot help but lie every time he gets the chance. It's like he can't help himself. It really is. It's scary. People like him.
Yeah. But I would also say that's kind of different. That's like saying when you're in a group chat, that's like saying that'd be like going to a coffee shop and talking to a group and be like, "Oh, how dare somebody," like the bigger the audience is, the more difficult it is to make sure that that stays private. So you would assume if you're in a group of like 5 people, that's not going to stay private. If you're talking to one person directly, that's more likely that, okay, if this gets out, it's you that leaked this. If you're talking to
Right.
5 or 10 different people, how dare somebody in this group of 5 or 10 spread this message beyond this 5 or
Yeah.
10? I'm like,
I think Brooks ever
what?
took the time to think things through. Before
Also,
he-
think about it like this. In the Poor Bastards chat, it got up to 40 people in there, which is
Yeah.
the most that's ever been in there.
nothing's
You'd have
secret
to find
at
a way
that
to
point.
prove that 40 people. What?
Yeah, nothing's secret at that point.
Oh yeah, like when Ham called Owen the N-word, and then Jossman DM'd Owen calling him the N-word. It was obvious because we could see that Owen literally leaked those DMs. I mean, that'd be obvious, but in other contexts, usually people when they're showing private DMs, they clip out. If they've sent a message, they clip that away so you can't tell who's sending the message. I mean,
Yeah.
anyone that has any intelligence would do that. I mean, if Loudmouth for some reason was to put his address, phone number, and social security number in a DM, that'd be bad to leak it. Although you'd have to wonder why the hell anyone would do that.
Yeah, so, like, if I was sending you my contact information so that way you could contact me, I would do it to you directly. I wouldn't post it in a group chat with 5 other people and expect nobody else to to do something with that. That's...
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
It's the reasonable expectation of privacy. There is no reasonable expectation of privacy once you get above 5 people, or once you... There's no
I'd say
reasonable
once you get
expectation,
beyond
yeah.
a single person.
Yeah,
I mean-
I would even say, once you get beyond one other person, there's no reasonable expectation of privacy.
Yeah, I would also say whatever you say in a group chat or in another person in DM, it should be something that if it's public, you wouldn't be ashamed of it. Like,
Yeah.
like if JJ admitted his love for Frozen Binary Studio in private DM, he shouldn't be ashamed to say that in public. If you'd be ashamed to say it in
Yeah, and
public,
yet he is. He's said that many times in private chats, and then refuses to acknowledge it publicly.
yeah, he did say that. He read a
What?
chat message. He read a chat message that said Frozen Binary Studio makes me question my heterosexuality. He reads that verbatim. Oh, we were all
No, to the best of my knowledge, I don't think he actually thinks that. He was just reading it out loud.
Yeah, he was just reading it. I don't think he actually thinks
I don't
of it that
know.
way, but it was fucking funny. I was like, oh, and then
Alright.
I said something else that he took out. He just said it, and He said Blair White was thicker than oatmeal, and I'm just laughing my ass off.
Okay, so by the way, have you guys seen those the images? Because it's something that just popped in my head as you're talking about Blair White. I'll see if I can. I'll post it in the chat. There's this dude on Twitter who had these amazing artwork about like he's got Shoe on Head, Lauren Southern, Sugar Tits, like these really Cassie J, Barbara. He's got this really intricate artwork.
Interesting. What?
Dude, yeah, no, look at these pictures, man.
Have any of them filed a restraining order yet?
Okay, so I'm gonna pop this out here, and I'm gonna switch over to it in my. So you guys probably won't be able to see it unless you are watching the stream. Yeah, so these are freaking amazing, and so these are just like the small versions of these, but he's got these really good artwork. Really like the amount of information about their particular personalities or their YouTube stuff. Like Blair, he, proper fucking pronoun. I don't know. Whatever pronoun. Blair is looking into a mirror, and on the mirror are the things that were like some of her famous phrases. Man, see, there I go saying her again. Whatever. I'm trying to be consistent on that. It's near impossible with trannies. Anyway, that's what like the I'm not a trap. I'm an ambush. That's written in lipstick on the mirror.
Then another one says sucking all right cock isn't gonna make them love you.
Wow.
I saw that image before. She retweeted it on Twitter.
Hi
Yeah.
guys.
No, and the amount of details in this guy. So his name is Brent Cherry. I'll link his Twitter stuff because these. And yeah, I just saw these the other day, and these I was just blown away. These are freaking amazing. So that's his.
How is everyone?
Sick.
Yeah. So that's.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just linked the artwork. It's at deviantart.com. So Brent Cherry, deviantart.com. Let's see if I can actually pull up the full views of it. But yeah, these are freaking amazing. And like I said, there's a whole lot of details, a whole lot of art. So like the Lauren Southern, she's got her little hedgehogs there. She's got the Trigglypuff. She's got a document that says legally a dude. Like, dude, the amount of forethought and just references to their personalities and stuff is amazing.
Yep.
Yeah, and then Cassie J, there's got the, she's dressed up like Alice in Wonderland, about to take the red pill. There's the rabbit wearing a jacket with the men's right activist logo on the back.
The fuck?
Yeah, yeah, and he's even got little explanations, and that's what clued me into the, because he wrote this whole thread where he's documenting all these little details about his pieces of art. Like, oh, this is, yeah. Really freaking good stuff. This guy's really talented.
How stupid can most people get?
Hmm?
What's going on? Trainer, what's going on?
Talking to myself out loud.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let's see.
I
In
have
the shoe on head.
conversations with myself. Don't worry.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was like, are you... I was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
That's just a heads up. I talk to myself a lot.
It's okay.
Yeah, and the shoe on head
I'm
one's
not
pretty good
normal.
too.
Yeah.
What
Being
is
normal's
normality?
overrated. Being normal's
Sure.
overrated, man.
I got shit on head artwork.
Hi, loudmouth.
Hello, trainer. How are you?
Being better than I was last week.
Good.
Last week I was in the emergency room.
Oh,
Oh,
that sucks.
what was that for?
Gallbladder.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
Bladder?
Yeah, my mother
Oh,
had to
shit,
deal with that a few years ago. It was a real bitch for
Oh,
her.
fuck, man. I'm glad you're out of that.
Yeah,
But I have to see.
Hey guys, what's going on?
Hey, how's Naked Ape's #1 squeeze doing?
Shut up. By the
Ashby,
way, I
Ashby.
went onto a. I've flown.
I saw that.
Ooh, ting tang, walla walla, bing bang.
Ashby,
I saw that. It was fucking hilarious. That was
Ashby.
so funny.
I'm
What's
not
it-
a
what-
trap. I'm not a trap.
Yeah.
I'm post-op.
Oh.
It's a trap.
And here I was thinking we were going
Bye.
to start to wrap this up, but oh well.
It's a
Yeah.
fat trap.
Yeah. Anyway, the link's in the description to that really good artwork.
Yeah.
Really
I need
cool
to,
stuff
I need
that
to
I
tell you
saw
guys
this week.
something that also ticks me off about Naked Ape. Frankly, I went to there was a Kiwi Farms blog about him, and frankly, somebody posted his address in the Kiwi Farms blog. I'm not going to tell you what it was, but frankly, he lives in a nice house, like a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom house with a pool in the back of it, in like the countryside.
Oh, fucking hell, Ashby. Oh, God. Oh, God, that
What?
sounds really creepy how descriptive you got with his house.
Yeah.
are
Are
you
you
gonna-
stalking him?
Yeah, are you going to shoot him worse than Harambe was shot by those people in Ohio?
Shoot the ape like a shot around there. No. I doubt it's his address. I doubt he's the type of person to own that big of a house.
Yeah, it's bullshit, dude. He's he mentioned living in an apartment numerous
Yeah.
times.
So,
Yeah, he lives. It's definitely not an apartment. It's definitely it's
Yeah.
too nice to be a.
Yeah,
I mean, he could.
but yeah, dude, that part where he had you on for like a couple minutes and then threw you off, it was really funny, dude.
Yeah. I mean, it was like kind of. They expected me to be that autistic. They expected me to be like extraordinarily like that autistic, and I wasn't. You know, I knew. I mean, Naked Ape is dying of AIDS, and he wants to give his channel and Discord
Yeah,
server
you'd
over
have
to
to be like clinically retarded to think that was.
I
that
think
was
it's. I
bullshit.
feel
To
very
be fair,
insulted by the fact that things that was that
AIDS
stupid.
is not unrealistic.
No,
Oh,
AIDS
he-
is not unrealistic. No, it's not unrealistic that
Well,
he
he
would
is
have
gay.
AIDS. It's unrealistic that
That he would
have
give his
immediately-
channel to Aspie.
Yeah, his
Yeah.
channel to Aspie.
But
That
it's
is
also
so
unrealistic
fucking
that he would
bullshit.
actually be dying of AIDS.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
No,
I
that's
don't know.
certainly,
I
that's
don't
certainly
think it-
possible. But yeah,
It-
whole
it's
thing-
possible.
You don't but Asper, you don't need to like accept invitations to like streams like that. You gotta like I don't know, maybe it's just me, like I'm kind of got the like
Sure you
stuff
don't
like
drop
that.
the
Well, to be fair, what did Aspie have to lose in that situation?
nothing.
Yeah, nothing to lose, but that's also what you kind of wanted to begin with that Naked Ape wouldn't let you have, right? It was actually arguing and saying, oh no, I don't want to deal with you, you're annoying. And then he comes and invites you on. I'm like, that's...
I knew it. I knew it
He's
was
sending you
gonna be-
mixed signals, dude. No
I would
wonder.
have just made a public statement on Twitter saying, saying like Naked Ape, wants me on his show, and I just said, no, I'm not interested.
Maybe he's
Yeah.
just playing hard to get.
Yeah, I'm
You
starting
still-
to make. He
you
said
still
for my.
have a chance, man.
Well, he said for my benefit. He said for my benefit, he's gonna block me. He's gonna ban me from his Discord server. I don't know. I don't know what that meant for my benefit. Like,
That's him playing hard to get, dude. You still
Yeah.
have a chance.
Yeah, you
Trent,
still,
I got
you
some bad
still have a
news for you,
chance.
Trent.
There's
Yeah,
an
I mean,
inroad.
you might get
No,
out of the
no.
friend zone yet.
No. Aspie, seriously though, Aspie, just kind of don't bug him. But if he sends you a link to his stuff, hey,
I think you should play hard to get as well. That'll help you out of the
Uh-oh.
friend zone.
wait, what did you just link in the chat here?
Trust me, you're gonna need eye bleach. You're gonna need eye bleach for it.
what is
I
it?
already, I'm gonna be honest.
Oh,
What the?
That's what I need when I watch any.
how
are you
guys doing?
Speaking of which, I saw this. I saw the meme you created, Lonely Wolf. That was pretty funny. It was a picture of me, with my face, with my mouth to the side, with that kind of discern like really look. And then that's next to me. It said a picture of
Are
me.
you okay, man?
Is
Very
the neck,
end, it said
is
it's
the
a trap.
neckbeard look something people actively try for?
S-man, that is not okay to link a picture of an asshole on screen. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a violation of YouTube's terms
Yeah,
of service.
yes.
Sorry,
Yeah.
man, your stream's gone. It was nice knowing you.
Yeah, I didn't.
Right? It,
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
want to see an asshole literally on screen.
I didn't know Kevin Logan had a son.
it,
Okay.
Okay,
Never get late.
trying
I
not
think
to make fun of the image too much, but it reminds me of those you know that magnetic beardy guy, like where you take the little stencil and you move the beard around.
Yes.
It's like Josselman moved it all underneath, just under the chin.
But I made a reaction video to his rap. Holy crap! I've never that is
His
the
rap
most
is so crap. It
Yeah.
doesn't.
Yeah.
I just feel sorry for the dude, but I'll have to watch that
Hold
video
on.
later. But I don't know what's going on.
I used to, but honestly, after the number of times he's lied and gone back on his word, I lose more and more sympathy for him.
Yeah.
Honestly, when he made a diss track on me saying that I had HIV and shit, it was the funniest shit ever, but it was also the most borderline retarded. I'm like, how like, if you're trying to diss me, like, oh, you have HIV. Well, I could just simply say, you know, Jossman has said that his family descended from Africans. In that case, they should have never let his ancestors out of the chains.
Oh, dang.
Okay.
I just why did he delete his old channel
He wanted
He's
to
a
have
dumbass.
just
wanted
to go
he
and
wa-
do the same shit again? It
he
makes
wanted
no
he wanted a fresh start. Also, JJ, you just missed.
Wait,
you
wait.
just
Whitey
missed
has a new channel now. Whitey
no,
has a new channel.
no, not him.
My internet may
Shit.
cut out, so apologies.
I just
You,
jacked.
Asper, you sounded like you were about to bust a nut when you said, "Oh, Whitey's got a new channel."
Fuck you.
Get wrecked.
Oh, by the way, what was that going on about?
In
yeah.
his video where he covers this whole situation, Owen was calling him was saying that Zach was offended less at racism but more at private DMs being shown, and then they start having this argument in the comments section, and Owen's extra chromosome is so big it's gonna burst even worse than the economy crashing in the mid 2000s.
Oh, dear God.
Yeah, honestly, it's fucking dumb.
I
Like-
can't. The reason why I can't fucking stand Owen. He's such a pompous prick.
Yeah,
He
honestly,
needs to get his dick sucked.
We all do.
Trainer,
Yeah, like,
Trainer, that's misogynistic. That is misogynistic, Trainer. You transphobic piece of... No, I'm kidding. But that
To be
basically... That's,
honest, I don't give a shit what most people think of me.
honestly, when Zach told him to eat fried chicken and watermelon, I think that was probably that probably is what would kill the stupid out of him.
No,
Yeah.
that would kill the stupid out of anybody.
Oh,
You
well,
know, I'm gonna leave so I can fucking roast this fucking.
well, if you want to be realistic about Owen McDonald, he's not dumb, but he's an ideologue. He thinks about everything
He's a-
through his
What he is.
ideology. He never. And the thing about ideologies, even what was that? Saul Alinsky talked about ideologies in
Mhm.
his book, Rules Against Radicals, where he says you
rules
cannot
for radicals.
having ideologies is not a good thing because it makes you closed-minded. It's kind of. I think
It's
I've
rules
really-
for radicals. It was using people like Owen to accomplish a goal. That's what the rules for radicals is. It's manipulation of people like Owen.
Yeah.
It's the how-to guide, like how to manipulate the masses. It's
It's a very
basically a
sneaky book.
psychopath's cookbook, right? Like it's
I can't
the
believe it.
psychopath's version of the anarchist cookbook. Like,
And if
Nice.
you learn
you-
about how Saul Alinsky first learned how to do that with the restaurants and whatnot, it's a rather. He was a thief. The guy
Yeah.
knew how to screw people off.
Yeah.
What he did, he went to a
he's
he
a
went to a
professional
restaurant,
con man.
He went to a restaurant. They gave him a ticket for like a few dollars, for like 5 cents when he got coffee. Then he
Mhm.
went over to a restaurant across the street, ordered a really big breakfast, and he kept that original receipt for 5 cents. And when they gave him the ticket for that big breakfast, which was more expensive, he just gave him the 5-cent ticket, and he was able to get $5. And he taught other people to do it, and they all
Yeah.
were able to do it as well. And it was like
Yeah,
he was
he
able
was-
to manipulate people through
Yeah, it's,
even though it was really bad and they all knew it was, they still did it because sort of they went along with the masses, and he figured out that you can manipulate people if you can give a
Yeah.
proper incentive.
he was a
Yeah.
con man, and his book is about how to con groups of people, like large groups of people. That
Like you could con some of the people in those southern states to be like extra, to be more racist than what they are. It's like with the southern cooking, like you can just put like extra butter in there, ingredients or whatever. It's like the
Careful, if you say butter, Paula Deen busts through the door.
Like the
Yeah.
Kool-Aid
They
Man.
can go fuck
The-
herself.
no, because if you say butter 3 times,
Oh,
like
yeah.
Paula Dean, Paula Dean like appears in your living room, and she's like, what's up, y'all?
Yeah, no, she busts through like the Kool-Aid Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh
I still can't believe I said what I just said on stream. I can't believe I pulled a Cult of Ham there.
Whatever.
At least it's not a little hammy.
No, that was worse. All right, let's try to reel this back into.
Actually, I do gotta go, so I'll see y'all later. And
Let's
I'll
reel
see
this
you,
back
man.
into a closing statement and try to wrap this up in the next 10 minutes. So, the last point I wanted to make about the topic of because I started this off talking about the little red hen and the ant and the grasshopper in it, and how we have this mentality of I want the results, not understanding what goes into making it, and it seems as if millennials and socialists have this worldview, and as I was thinking about the topic for today's video, it popped in my head that it's kind of the same mentality as children and infants, right? The only way to get something is to either cry for it or to take it. It's like oh, you didn't give me my cake, I'm gonna whine and cry until you get me my cake. I'm gonna whine and cry until mommy and daddy give me your stuff. Or to just take it outright and claim mine. This is mine. That's what little kids do. They haven't grown up to the point it's like, oh, if I want something, the best way for me to get it is to share or to trade with somebody for it. Is to say, oh, let's work together. Hey, I want what you have. In order to get that, I'm going to give you my candy, or I'm going to give you my toy to get your toy. Like, the modern day, the kids in their teens and 30s or whatever, they don't have this concept in their head, so the only two ways of getting something that they understand is taking it or whining until somebody gives it to them. There's the earning it or trading for it doesn't even cross their minds.
Yeah, because I see that mentality, like when I was like, because I've been a teacher before, and I've seen that mentality of like the kids who think that they deserve like an A because they think they're smart or whatever. Like, ironically, it's not so much a political mentality, because these are people who've been raised in the capitalist system of sort of like meritocracy or whatever, and that's kind of the it cuts both ways. But yeah, it's kind of that mentality is like, I should have a high mark because I think I'm smart, but yet I haven't studied and I haven't organized myself as a student. I haven't worked hard enough. And then when I when they get when they don't get what they want, they think, okay, mummy and daddy will make sure that that teacher gets raked over the coals.
Yeah, that's the. You can be smart and still not study, and then you don't get the A. And like, well, you didn't sacrifice what you needed in order to get the result that you wanted. In order to get the result of the good grade, you still needed to take time and effort to get there. Yet they want that. They want I want that great grade without putting in the time. I want that great grade, but I also want to play video games all night. I want the money for doing a job, but I also want to.
That's why I lost faith. That's why I lost faith in. I lost faith in meritocracy after seeing so much of that, like that fucking attitude. It's just like, it's almost like the mentality of it no longer exists, and it's not necessarily a political orientation, because it happens amongst. It even happens among capitalism as well. I hate both. I hate every system there is. Like, I'm just a nihilist who hopes the world just gets like pummeled by a asteroid or something like that.
Can I just say something, Lonely Wolf? I don't understand this sort of extreme opposition to capitalism, because all capitalism is essentially just a free market, freedom to create something without having to get government approval, and being able to innovate without having to go to like a committee and having to propose this to them. You can just go out and do it yourself. Start a business, start like a small like restaurant or something, and provide a product to other people. And he gets people want to work for him, and he gets employees, and he builds his business, or his business fails. I don't understand where the extreme opposition to capitalism comes from. I mean,
it's just the idea, like the thing that really, like the thing that fucks me up about it is a lot of people, like it's a hashtag not all, but there's a lot of people who are in that system of capitalism, but yet like when like they think meritocracy, like when they're doing well, it's like, oh, meritocracy, I'm going to do well and work hard. But when the tide turns against them, like let's say that their business fails, like, some of these fuckers are always like, then they go to the government for bailouts or whatever, and then, or they blame somebody else for their failure or whatever. So I'm just like, well, I'm just a nihilist, like, and I'm not really, and I'm not convinced of the communists either. It's like, I just want us to be hit by an asteroid and just like, the only way.
I'll agree with you that
more,
this is not a political position.
Well, Lonely Wolf, I was going to say that's more or less a sort of criticism of human nature rather than a criticism of a economic system.
Yeah. So I don't think that that's the fault of capitalism, but I do think it is the fault of...
It's human. I mean, the only way that there's ever going to be a utopia is because I'm not convinced by the communists either. But the thing is though, the only way we're ever going to have like a utopia is just for human existence just to not happen, and just like, like dogs and cats and like all the other animals, like they'll like
the animal kingdom's pretty rough, dude. I'd be careful.
They are rough and everything like that, but they're nowhere near as bad as us.
Well, I would say under a true capitalist system, there would be no government to go to for bailouts.
Have you actually watched Animals in the Wild? Animals are fucking dicks to each other.
Yeah.
Hyenas will eat antelope alive.
Yeah.
All right.
And
they will also
they'll
also destroy their own kind.
If you're a lion, dude, okay?
No.
A lion, male lion, if he sees a female he likes, okay, and she has a bunch of cubs by another male, he will run in there, he will kill them all, and then he'll fuck her and put his own cubs in her.
And cats
and
have a barbed penis.
Yeah, I mean, penguins are prostitutes.
Yeah, it is. I'm really happy my parents convinced me to do it.
Uh-oh. I'm not sure if my stream cut off on me because for some reason OBS lost connection, so we'll see. Should be back, but just in time, so I'm not sure how much of that last part went through. But good points all around about, yes, so you reap what you sow, or you get what you put into it, but you also have to make sure that what you put into it is something productive, because if life is kind of life is a machine, garbage in, garbage out. If you put garbage into it, you'll get garbage out, and that'll be your life. That'll be your reward. You shouldn't expect something for nothing. You should not. You should expect your reward to be based on what you put into it, provided what you put into it is what is required to get the end result. Like, if you put in Monopoly money at the casino, don't expect to win $1 million. That doesn't work like that. You have to put your own money in on the casino table in order to win anything when you hit it big. That's... Alright, I think we've covered everything there. I'm going to go ahead and end the stream just so we've got a kind of a nice little wrap-up.